Hi friends, how are we doing today? Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really pumped to bring you ColourPop's Valentine's collection today. So it was sent my way. Thank you so much, ColourPop, and I'm going to be trying everything on. I've got my face partially done. I'll tell you about that in a second, but the collection is called Heart to Get. Very glam. We're going to put together an eye look. I've got several of these Supershock cream blushes. We've got shadow sticks, and we've also got lip glosses. But yeah, I hope you guys had a good weekend. I'm shooting this on Martin Luther King Day, and I was up late last night watching the UCA College Nationals cheerleading competition. I stream that. It happens this specific weekend every year, and so all throughout Saturday and Sunday we were watching stuff, and then last night was the finals for 1A all-girl and co-ed, and it was just so much fun to watch. I'm just always amazed that I have the capability to get to see that live, because once upon a time I would just hover by the computer and refresh until they would put up the ranking of who won with one picture beside each team. That was back like when I was in high school and college, and I remembered I would print off pictures of my favorites because they'd show like one pyramid or one certain stunt, and I'd print it off and put it on my bulletin board. So things have come a long way since then. But let's mention what's on my face already today. I've been experimenting with some of this Bouncy Plump from Essence. I actually really like the texture of this one. It comes out as kind of like a cloudy gel. It has more of a slip across the skin compared to its counterpart, the other new product that is a gripping kind of tacky primer, although that one's fairly thin in itself, but this one I really enjoy. And then I put on my L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum. Light 2-3 is my shade. This gives me a really nice medium coverage across my skin, and then I bumped up the coverage in certain areas with my Infallible Full Wear, which I have in Ivory. So as you can see, my under eye is a little bit brightened up. I've got that around my under eye. Had a little zit down here wanting to crop up, so I've handled all that. And then I set with my Coty Airspun Translucent Extra Coverage, and I mean, I'm looking like really a full coverage look at this point. To set elsewhere on my face, I used a little bit of my CoverGirl Clean Invisible Compact because it's just a classic and it works fine. I just needed a little light powder everywhere else. My eyeshadow primer is on, Milani eyeshadow primer, and I did brows too. My Morphe Micro Manager Ripping Brow Gel on top of the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil shade 4. Oh, I forgot, I also put on bronzer. This is my LA Colors Matte Bronzer from Dollar Tree. Shade is Bronzed Beauty. What a good classic everyday bronzer. Not too light, not too dark, but pigmented and gets the job done. So I've been playing with this collection for the last several days. When it was first sent my way, it wasn't even on ColourPop's website yet, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll hold off on doing a video, but now I can see it's there. But on the eyes, it's an extremely glam look. I'll get into that more in a minute, but like, there's a ton of glitz and high contrast in this palette. But for these blushes, this is exciting. They've put in a Supershock formula this year. There's 3 different blushes to choose from. Aren't they always so cute? This heart packaging is the best. They had done powders, they had done a cream like Lip and Cheek, and now they're doing the Supershock formula, which is kind of like a creamy putty, I might have to call it. It's something that's creamy enough to push your finger into, but not anything that looks tacky on your skin. So we've got several here. This one's called Not Your Baby, and all of these little compacts do have a mirror. You can see the shimmer. There's going to be shimmer in all of them. There's that, again, creamy to the touch at first, but then you realize, okay, it's not like ultra creamy. This one has a bit of a goldeny shift, looking immediately pink, but the shimmer in it shifts a little bit gold. The next one we have in that cool pink packaging is called Feelings Mutual, looking like kind of a classic bubblegum pink. I'll give you a swatch of that beside. We can tell it's a similar intensity level to the other one, but just coming off like a cooler pink. And then this beauty here is called Cuter Than Cupid. Here we're seeing that depth, kind of a berry burgundy type of look. And in the swatch, I mean, it looks just straight metallic when you get one of these on your finger because you're seeing it so opaque, and it's going to be even more sheared out than what you see on my hand. But there's that beautiful berry tone there. So I'm thinking we can use a couple of these today, right? They are shimmery products. They don't appear to be overloaded with shimmer though. I mean, like I've tried some Supershock shadows, especially recently, where I was like, whoa, it just feels like a straight glitter. Here, I would say you're definitely getting much more color as opposed to shimmer, but the shimmer is definitely there. It's visible. You're gonna see it on your cheeks, but I don't think it's unflattering. I'm gonna first go in with my deeper shade, and there's different ways you could do this. You could try going straight into this with a brush if you want to, or you could pick up a little bit on your finger if you want to be a bit more clear about what you're actually applying. Sometimes it's nice to just dot it on a little bit with your finger. Here I'm doing several dots of that Cuter Than Cupid shade. And then I'm pulling in my Sephora 56. And one thing about these is they're going to be easier to blend. I think they feel quicker to blend as opposed to a straight traditional cream. It's almost like a firmly pressed mousse, and that texture is just going to blend really easily. So that's this shade with several dots, you know, sheared out. I'm always going to love the versatility of a richer color. Don't be scared by what you see in the pan. It's always going to shear out. But I will say it helps to have the proper tools to do that with. So I love a dense little brush like this. If you can't turn up a Sephora 56, a Real Techniques Expert face brush is actually very similar. So there I intentionally placed that one just a teeny bit lower, you know, on my cheek area, but you can see it's practically to my contour zone. But I knew that was going to be my deeper shade, and I want to work in another one as well. I think I'm going to go with the cooler pink today. This is the one called Feelings Mutual. And again, just so I can feel a little more clear on what's actually getting applied on my skin, I'm gonna take my finger and then just dab it directly on my face. And if you wanted to, you could use your finger to kind of lightly blend and buff this in, but I do just feel so comfortable with my brushes, and I'm gonna be tapping over that. And it's gonna very easily work into my skin and not leave me feeling tacky or sticky on the surface of my skin, which is great. Look at that cool little pop we've added. She's a softer shade, but she can make an impact. And again, it's going to be varying intensities just depending on how much you want to put on your skin. But I say this a lot with blushes with shimmer. You know, you start building them up because you want to see more color, but you're going to get that shimmer as well. So your skin can become rather shiny as you build, but I'm really content with just like the pretty standard amount that I just popped on there. Super cute. Definitely feels like highlighter optional skin to me. And the packaging is always just so adorable here. So I think it's cool that they put in the Supershock formula this year. Before I get into talking about the eyeshadow palette, we do have two different combos of shadow sticks. These could work with one another just to create a little look in themselves, or could be kind of an assistant to the palette if you wanted them to be. The first duo that I swatched is called Love at First Swipe. So this is your cute little box. I don't know why, but the boxes make me think kind of like 80s airbrushed a little bit. They're cute. But you're getting these two kind of mauve-y toned sticks in here. Let's turn my hand the right way. One is matte and one is shimmery. So can you see the intensity there? The matte one is called Keep Dreaming, and the shimmery one is called What Did I Miss? And then the other two that are swatched beneath there, as you can see, we're getting a matte taupe and then more of a pearly, really light shimmer. The taupe matte is called Try Harder, and the shimmer is called Not Available. So I'm not really familiar with ColourPop's shadow stick formula, but what I can say is I swatched them like several minutes ago, and I don't know if they take more time to set up, but they're completely rubbing away at this point. Maybe they need more time to set. Let me know if you're familiar with those, and do they set to a long wearing, budge free kind of state? They went on just as smooth as like a L'Oreal Lace shadow stick, but again, I very easily just rubbed away what I swatched there. But L'Oreal Lace shadow sticks, hard candy shadow sticks, those fairly quickly will set and not move. But like I said, with the shade selection there, those appear to be colors that you could use outside of the palette to create some sort of look on their own, but we do need to focus on this palette today. It's not my favorite. If we're just talking like what kind of color scheme would you pick, it's really very, very cool. And every shimmer to me, besides this one right down here, is really just a bold statement shimmer, you know? And I feel like we've got a Supershock shadow right in here with this one called Sweet Talk, because I put my finger in and it just kind of feels creamy. It mushes around just a little bit. That one's got a really light reflective quality. The one called Mood Lately feels sort of like that too, that one up in the corner. There's some squish and push to those. Booked and Busy is right here. This kind of comes off like a sheer glaze. It just depends on how you want to wear that and how much you build it up. 99% Angel right up in here. This one does feel rather smooth, I will say, and has a little bit of an iridescent shift. Finally, there's one down here called Can't Compare, and that one is just kind of like a smoky taupe. The other shades you're seeing around here are mattes. This one has some shimmer, but is one of those that's so rich and dark, kind of behaves matte. But the midtones are like a really cool taupe. We've got a couple of pink pops. Actually, this one called Breaking Hearts looks like it's got some satin in it. But I'm gonna try to not hold back and create a fun look with this just so you can see where it can go. But I'm gonna start up here with this soft taupey color called Who Is This? I'm gonna take my crease brush and just see the level of depth we can get. I mean, I'm showing you, but I already know like it is a really light shade. It's going to give us a very just slight and subtle cool tone there in the crease. But I'm just kind of putting that down first, and then I'll add in some deeper colors too. Wore my gray shirt on purpose. I didn't want to fight too much with any brightness that comes into the look, but I think it'll play well with the cooler tones. Then I'm going to go into this one called Maybe Next Time. So we've got a little depth here. This is a matte. Going in there, and I'm gonna take this to my crease. As you look at the palette, you would have to admit, yeah, I guess I could put together an all matte look if I wanted to. It's a possibility. There is enough depth, mid-tone, and light to pull it off. There's that coolness right there. I do like the way that's performing. I like that level of depth in my crease, and it's going on really smooth because I did put in that other shade first. I do love the quality of a ColourPop shadow. I mean, I've definitely talked about how much I love various little palettes like this that have come out, but also their larger palettes are just fantastic. The mega palettes. I mean, it's just kind of like take your pick. They do such consistent quality in those. Bare Necessities, Smokin' Hot, Smokin' Roses. I think they do a great, really consistent job in those. And for as big as they are, they don't have tons of shade overlap either. I think I'm going to take some of this matte pink while I've got my crease brush in hand here, and I'd like to see some of that actually take off beyond the gray, just really lightly. Can you see it coming in? I can see it in person. I'm just doing a really soft haze. This is not to say this is a soft color, because look, if you do it more opaque, it's capable of looking opaque, but we are using a soft application method to just make it like a hazy, cool pinky border. Next thing I'd like to do is go into Breaking Hearts right down here. This is the magenta that I said does appear to have kind of a satiny thing going on. And I'd like to see that also work into just the outer part of the crease. Build up a little color, but not necessarily lid color with that shade, you know? Nice. Really pigmented. I'm just doing one little push into that shade with my crease brush. It's been all crease brush so far. But to me, what this palette says is kind of like fun novelty look, but isn't the type of thing that's going to make me feel like everyday necessity type of look. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a now and then part of the eyeshadow wardrobe for me, is how it's going to be going forward. Just not always craving this type of a color scheme. Next up, I'm going to take my flat brush. We do have a couple of really deep shades here. We have Back at It, which is a matte deep gray. And then down here is a black with a reddish sparkle in it called Get the Hint. I'm going to take some of Get the Hint with my Morphe M303, and I want to use that on the outside here. I haven't used a lot of this shade so far, so I kind of want to see and double check as I build it up. Am I seeing any of that sparkle really translating? I've seen so many shades like this that I really just think are for looks in the palette. Like, it looks gorgeous as you look at everything in there, but once you start patting it on the eyes, this is performing like matte black. Can confirm. Biscuit's up here to observe. Hi, Angel. Love you. I've patted it on the outer part of my lid and let like the top of that brush just reach the crease. That's what that Morphe M303 just wants to do. Gentle pat in, doesn't take much. But I will say, I do not fault ColourPop one bit for putting out a fun eyeshadow palette that's not like just, you know, another take on neutrals, even though I love a good neutral palette. Like, I appreciate that they're gonna put out something fun. And everybody's talking about wanting 2016 makeup to make a comeback. And it's like, well, this is that vibe. So I've gotten that in there. I think we're going to reach for our crease brush once again. And here's where we can reach that color, let it become more one with the look where the crease is concerned. I'm not blending across my lid space. I'm just blending across where that black is ending. See that? Nice. I mean, no complaints on application to this point. Then I think I'd like to see some of this shade called Sweet Talk, which again, as I put my finger into it, it almost feels creamier than a Supershock shadow, but I want to grab some of that and just let it pat on my remaining lid space here. It's really got this cool, almost bluish reflectivity to it. But with its creaminess, I do kind of appreciate that. That means that highly shimmery shade is not floating all over. You know what I mean? Yeah, some of them just turn into kind of a shimmer bomb snowflake cloud around you. This is going to go on and really stick to the spot you're putting it in. I just hope it continues to wear well. Wow, what a bluish shift that truly has. I mean, you can get a sense of it in the palette, but like, I'm not seeing much pink at all out of it. now that I've patted it on there. But I've let it slightly overlap the black, which does look really cool. Thinking about now taking some of this shade called 99% Angel. I'm gonna grab that with my Morphe M302. And I'd like to see some of that come around the inside. This is a powder texture. It looked pretty intense in a swatch. It's not seeming like it wants to lay down a ton right in here. Maybe just a little. It's a softer, more pearly looking shade ultimately, and I think adding it in on top of this little Wild Child right here is just not quite standing up alongside it, but it's there. And I can tell it's kind of been patted in there on the innermost part. On the under part of my eye, I'd like it to look a little smoky, you know. Let's take some of this shade called Back At It right here. Back At It's coming in. It's gonna go under my eye, sticking to that lower lash line. Oh, immediately loving the effect that that gives to this particular look. It's like all the action on top really needed some balance. And if you want to, anything else on that little brush, you can use this to shape your look. I kind of can't believe with the intensity of this palette that I haven't brought in my Profusion small pointed brush, but that can totally give you a little more control with those darker shades. I am taking a little bit of Back At It, that one that we just put on the under eye, and kind of bringing it right in here. It's a matte, it has kind of a softening effect on the edges of things. Nice. I'm gonna finish up this lip with just a little mascara and then we'll talk lips. I tell you what guys, once I see that mascara go on, I'm kind of thinking I might really love this look. But I do want to say something. If you like the idea of maybe a pinky pop in your eyeshadow look, you might consider their Smoke and Roses palette, or this might just make you check it out if it's already in your collection, because this has honestly a lot of high shimmery shades. It does have pink and berry going on, but it also has a lot of other more earthy tones that can make for a lot of everyday wearable looks, plus an even bigger range of dark shades. I don't know. When I use this palette, I think, yeah, she's fun and cute, but a lot of people might have this one sitting around, and it's like, yeah, you can get those pinky pops. I mean, you might not have some of those really like iridescent, almost bluish looking shifts like I've got right now, but there's a lot of high shimmer to play with in here, and it's very good quality. So if you've got this sitting around and you're thinking, yeah, I like that vibe, but make it more wearable, this is where you go. And I think I did, yeah, I took a picture of the eye look that I did yesterday, and it was basically like, instead of using the black in the outer corner, I used that second darkest one called Back At It, that matte kind of grayish tone. That's taking over my outer corner. And then the pop on my lid, I used a little bit of that taupey color called Can't Compare, and I went inward with 99% Angel. So that one can have some pop. It's just, if you're trying to make it pop next to that one, it might not be able to hang quite as well and show itself as much. I don't know if I said, but I put on Persona tubing mascara top and bottom just now. And then we've got 3 lip glosses, and then that's pretty much the collection. They're super cute. Look at those little like heart tops on them. Very cute. They sell them individually, or you can get them as a bundle, or they also have different ones paired with the blushes, which could make just a super cute little Valentine's gift. Anyway, you slice it with this collection, the stuff is cute and Valentine's-y, but these glosses, much like the blushes, feel like something that would continue to be an everyday wearable thing well beyond Valentine's Day. So I'm going to try on each one of these for you. There's 2 creamy shades and 1 highly shimmery shade. They're all called Ultra Glossy Lip. This shimmer is called To Die For. Smell just gently sweet. Look at all that shimmer. Like, I see it and I think not a shade I'd wear solo, but a fun shade to add as a piece of a lip combo. So there's that one. That's your 1 shimmer in the trio. The scent kind of makes me think maybe marshmallow, some kind of candy. These next 2, we're thinking more of a standalone option. This is your light pink. It's called Still That Girl. And the next one's going to be a little deeper than that. It's the mauve colored one called Your New Obsession. So here's Still That Girl. There's a little stretch to those. We are seeing ish here, but soft pink. These glosses feel thinner than a lifter gloss. Not at all sticky. As I had one on yesterday, I thought, you know, as I wear it, it feels a little more one with my lips, just a little less of that immediate creaminess that you feel upon application. But you can see the pink is sheer. It's not showing up 100% that opaque, but you're getting that wash of baby pink. And this one they describe as mauve pink, Your New Obsession. That's my favorite there. That is taking my natural lip color and adding a little more pink to it and being just enough color to sort of smooth out my lip tone. And if you really look what I've done with my eye look, this type of color is sort of like what's hazing up above the eye look right there. It's cute, but I could see any of these playing into just a lip combo that you're doing with a little more definition, a lip liner or something like that. But as far as this collection goes, just to look at everything, like there's a very cute and cohesive Valentine's-y look to everything. I appreciate that. ColourPop's always going to do a fun Valentine's collection. For continued practical day-to-day use, I am most into the blushes. I really like all of them, and I would say my top fave though is the deepest one, because that's going to give you the most range, the most options. Wear a little more one day, a little less another day. The shimmer in it is pretty but not overwhelming, and I feel that way about all of them. Definitely shimmer that I can handle. I'm not looking at my cheeks and saying, oh, they deposited a bunch of glitter in there. Not seeing that. I'm seeing good pigment, but just, you know, we got varying tones here. We've got something that's going to take us a little warmer route with that goldeny shifting pink, cool pink, and then your berry. Those are really cool, really cute. And then I like the glosses, although I don't think they're a must-have. They're a very cutesy little thing for the holiday. I'm checking to see which one they paired with this blush. I have a feeling it's maybe the mauve one, but I'm gonna see. Okay, there is a duo with the two that I like best, the mauve shade called Your New Obsession, and then that blush. That would be a nice duo to have. But the blushes are my tip-top thing. These shadow sticks, to be honest with you, I need to try these more. I need to apply these on my eyes and see, are they really setting but just taking a lot longer to do so, or are they not gonna set at all? I'd love to hear your take on ColourPop's shadow sticks in the comments, but I could see how they would effectively work together with them giving you one matte and one shimmer in each set. I like that aspect, but something I just need to play with a little bit more, but I'm not immediately super wowed given the swatches I did. The palette turns out a fun look, I will say. For me, it's just screaming occasional use, something I sometimes want to use, but not something I'm always reaching for. So you know yourself if you buy palettes based on the fact that it could be your new everyday essential, or are you buying it because it looks like something fun for that particular holiday and you just love Valentine's Day and you think it would be cute. Like I said, I think the Smoke and Roses palette, for me, I see that and I think, tons more options, much more natural options as well, but still can go the pinky route. And yeah, I just think it's something to shop your stash for, because I know many of us might have that on hand. So just know that going in. But thank you guys so much for watching this little Valentine's-y look. I feel like I could bump up the blush even more. These are so easy. Take a little bit of that and just, because she didn't really get to shine toward the apple of the cheek, I had her a little lower and back further. But look, when I say these are easy to blend, I just buffed it in with my fingertip. That's because these lack a certain amount of moisture. They're like a really firmly pressed mousse. And I do just love this color so much. Like, this is a great wintertime blush shade, or it could look really good on bronzed summer skin too, to be honest. But so much ease with those. That's like my #1 thing, and how cute to just sit it out. Thank you for watching, friends. Let me know your take if you've tried any pieces from this collection, and I will see you again soon. I love you. Bye.